Hello guys, we are Group 1. In this video, we are going to talk about psychoanalysis theory. First, let's us explain about literature theory analysis. This is defined as a system or analysis used to examine and study different works of literature. And psychoanalytic theory is the theory of personality organization and the dynamics of personality development that guides psychoanalysis, a clinical method for treating psychopathology. So what about psychoanalysis theory is based on literature? We can say that this theory from psychological perspective applying theories and concepts from psychology to literary works. And that we will be discussing only one psychoanalysis theory to literature. But you might ask, when and where did it begin? Let us explain. Psychoanalysis is a method of treating emotional difficulties that involves communication between a psychoanalyst and an individual, with the goal of gaining insight into the individual's inner world and how it affects his or her emotions, behavior, and relationships. Psychoanalysis is also a system of ideas about the human mind and personality. Under the influence of Sigmund Freud, psychoanalysis literary criticism expanded the study of psychological features beyond the author to cover a variety of intrinsic textual aspects. Freud's writings about psychoanalysis helped define the field of psychology in the 20th century. It are objects of study in such diverse fields as literature, intellectual history, and history of science. The core of psychoanalysis is the belief that all people possess unconscious thoughts, feelings, desires, and memories.
Okay, talking about conscious and unconscious, let's talk deeper about it. Well, it is actually the human personality, and here's more explanation about it. The conscious mind. On the other hand, it includes everything that is inside of our awareness. For example, you are studying now and you are listening to these materials. It means that you are aware now. Or when you help your mothers to do the housework, that means you are also aware. Yep, nothing else but awareness. And the second is the unconscious. It happens when we do something without our awareness. For example, when we are dreaming during our sleep. Yeah. Or when you got hit on the head and then you passed out. This is the example of a time when you are unconscious. Actually, Freud's psychoanalytic theory of personality argues that human behavior is the result of the interactions among three level component parts of the mind. They are the id, the ego, and the superego. The first one is the id. It is actually an instinct that responds directly and immediately to basic urge, needs, and desires. Freud said that these thoughts is the primitive thoughts that humans have, and the main concern is to maximize the human's pleasure. For example, a desire to have food when we are hungry, a desire to have sex, or feeling that comes up immediately. And the second is the superego. Superego is concerned with social rules and morals to consider right and wrong. For example, like what superheroes did in the movies, like Captain America, Spider-Man, or Aquaman, where they essentially tell you what's right and wrong based on what you have learned to be socially acceptable. And the last is the ego. The ego is the realistic part that mediates between the desires of the id and the superego. The ego hears both sides. It makes sense all the informations and give the final decisions about how we should behave. So, it is in the middle between the id and the superego. But when it is failed to reach the superego or the it win, based on a research by Harvard Medical School, it can cause anxiety, moodiness, or depressive thoughts. For example, it has happened when people failed in the past about their expectations or relationships. So, as you can see on this diagram of the iceberg, well, the smaller portion above the water, it signifies the conscious mind, while the much larger portion below the water, it illustrates the unconscious mind. Yeah, as you can see, there are the white iceberg. Yep, that is there are still the conscious between the ego and superego, right? But it is not for the it, because the it is all about the unconscious.
How can this be applied to literature? So here are fruits theories that related to literature. The first one is Oedipus complex or Electra complex. The second one is the three parts psyche. This concept denotes by Freud, which states that all boys around the ages 4 or 5 will develop a sexual desire for their mother. So in this way, the boy will become jealous to their father and desire to kill them. He believed the same happened to the girls, as according to the Electra complex stated that all young girls will desire their father and fear their mother. He also believed a failure is overcome this innate desire would lead to future neurosis. It may sound a ridiculous concept and wondering. So there are two very well-known works which can analyze in psychoanalysis theory. The first one is William Shakespeare's Hamlet, and the second one is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. We can find prime example of this idea.
And then we're going to apply the theory anyway to the literary works. Let's see the cases that compatible to be analyzed. The first is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. In these literary works, we analyze about a young man overly obsessed with his mother. As a young boy, Norman Bates was shown to a view of the world through this emotionally abusive woman. And their life along together, Norman developed a strong obsession. When his mother found a new partner, Norman was driven to kill him. So using the psychoanalysis theory, we can look at this film from a psychological perspective and relate it back to Freud's Oedipus complex theory. Norman's irrational jealousy was clearly a product of his unhealthy desire for his mother. His inability to overcome the stage led to severe neurosis later, and life creating the Norman Bates we all know today. And in similar fashion, we can apply this to Hamlet by William Shakespeare. In this play, we follow the story of Prince who was mourning his father's loss. Upon his mother remarried with her brother-in-law named Claudius, his father's ghost informs that it was Claudius who was killed him. Upon proving his guilt, Hamlet is hesitant to kill Claudius and decided not to do that. And again, when we use psychoanalysis theory in this situation, we may ask, why would he spare the man who killed his father? According to Oedipus complex, it seemed that Hamlet spares Claudius out of guilt. Hamlet feels guilty because he desired to do just what Claudius did. Or in a simple way, we can say that he had the same desire as Claudius: kill his father and marry his mother. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. I'd like to summarize by saying psychoanalysis theory is based on analysis literature from a psychological perspective, applying theories and concepts from psychology to literary works. So, on its most basic level then, this theory wants to look beyond the superficial in the analysis of any situation, so this can clearly be applied to literature. If you guys have questions regarding the focus of this presentation, please feel free to contact us at Google Classroom or any platform. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.